If you're in year 11, class of 2025, you will know that you've got 6 weeks left to your first GCSE Literature, Paper 1 and Paper 2 exams. So what I want to go over within this lesson is the end goal. What should you be attaining? How much percentage of the marks should you be getting? If, for instance, you want to get a 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 in your final Literature Paper 1 and Paper 2 exams. And the reason why it's so important to know the grade boundaries and to know exactly what your examiners are looking for and the marks that they will award and how that reflects in your final results is because, of course, as you're practicing in the lead up to the exams, you then need to know exactly. So for example, you want to get a grade 5, right? You need to therefore know exactly how many marks you need to be getting for each paper. And then working forwards from that, looking at what grade 5 responses which scored the same amount of marks looked like. And then of course that then informs your own practice. Of course, also, if you're aiming to get 6, 7, 8 or 9 in your final Literature Paper 1 and Paper 2 exams, of course, knowing exactly down to the percentage what you should be aiming for to get a 6, 7, 8 or 9 in your final GCSE means that this is now going to inform your practice when you then go off, see other past paper and model answers which are written at that level. And of course, then when you then reflect on your own work and your own practice, which hopefully you are doing consistently between now and your final GCSE exams, you can then know and feel really confident that you've been practicing consistently at that level, okay? So let's go over grade boundaries for the 2025 GCSE exams. Now, before I get into it, of course, guys, welcome back to yet another GCSE revision video. If you've been following First Rate Tutors long enough, you will know that we've helped hundreds of GCSE English, language and literature students get 6s, 7s, 8s and 9s through my weekly GCSE language, Paper 1 and Paper 2 masterclasses every Sunday at 5 p.m. And of course, guys, I am super excited to let you guys know that I'm going to be doing another one-off GCSE Literature Week. This is a 2025 GCSE exams revision special. For those of you that are doing your exams class of 2025 in May this year, okay? So guys, from the 7th to the 13th of April over Easter week, I'm going to be covering Macbeth, Inspector Calls, Christmas Carol, Power and Conflict, Unseen Poetry, literally all the main texts for Literature Paper 1 and Paper 2, and more specifically, guys, going over how to write grade 9 top model answers and exactly how to answer the different sections of your Literature Paper 1 and Paper 2 exams so that you can be walking away from those exams feeling confident. And of course, within that week, which is going to be a very intensive GCSE revision week, we are going to be focusing on how to go up by 1, 2 and 3 GCSE grades in that week. So make sure you join in. Let's get to it. Grade boundaries for the 2025 exams. As you can see behind me, I've literally put together a table of sorts in terms of the different grade boundaries and what you should be getting in both your Literature Paper 1 and Paper 2 exams and how that translates in terms of percentage in marks. Okay, this is the 2025 grade boundaries. And also, by the way, guys, I have created a free downloadable, okay, just like a little freebie for those of you that maybe want to have this in actual digital copy format. Okay, so what I've done is I've created like a little cute table with the 2025 GCSE grade boundaries. For those of you that want to have that, it's free, download, just literally click on the link, go onto the website and then download it for free. Let's get to it. What do this year's grade boundaries look like, guys? These grade boundaries are based on last year's grade boundaries, okay? The 2024 exams. And remember, by the way, guys, grade boundaries over the years don't tend to vary very massively, right? They sometimes go up by just a few percentage points or sometimes a little bit down by just a few percentage points. But guys, if you look at last year's grade boundaries, the 2023 grade boundaries, 2022, there was not very much variation. It was just by a few percentage points, which means this is a very faithful indicator of what your grade boundaries this year will look like. So, for those of you, let's start with those that are going for gold. You want to see what, and you want to know what you should be scoring in order to get a 9 in both your Literature Paper 1 and paper 2 GCSE exams, okay? So when it comes to your literature paper 1 exams, which are going to be sitting in 6 weeks time, and of course your literature paper 2 exams, which will take place in 7 weeks, what you need to focus on is getting in both papers 137 out of 160. In other words, guys, when it comes to grade boundaries, what a grade 9 model response or even a grade 9 response, okay, in your final GCSE looks like is you have scored 88% in your literature paper 1 and paper 2 exams. And this is really important to know because a lot of people and a lot of students specifically always assume, oh, grade 9 means I need to get 100%. Guys, grade 9 is literally 88%, okay? Anything, to be honest, above 79%, you're basically in grade 9 territory. So when it comes to grade 8, okay, you need to score 121 out of 60 in both your literature paper 1 and paper 2 exams, and that is equivalent to 79% of the marks. And by the way, guys, apply these percentages even to the questions that you practice, right? So say, for example, you're doing, let's say, inspector calls, right? 30 marks. Literally, you therefore, if you're aiming to get an 8, you want to be getting at least 79% of those marks, those 30 marks available for an inspector calls. Now, let's look at grade 7, right? So this is a low A. Remember that grade 9, grade 8, and grade 7 are basically A's, right? Now, when it comes to grade 7, you need to achieve 106 out of 160. By the way, it's 160 because it is both papers, okay? Now, what that means is to get a grade 7 and to basically hit an A, you need to get 71% of the marks available in both papers. And of course, guys, for those of you who are aiming for this, right, you want to get 7s, 8s, and 9s. And even, for example, you might want to actually just know how to pass. You want to know how to get 6s and even 5s. Guys, you literally don't have to figure this out by yourself, okay? So over my Easter Literature Week classes, we're going to be obviously focusing on what a grade 9 response looks like during that live lesson. Not only will you be able to ask me as many questions as you want, especially this is going to be the final major holiday before your first English literature GCSE exams. But of course, guys, I'll be writing 4-mark model answers for literature paper 1 and paper 2 past questions. And on top of that, guys, I'm going to be not only making predictions, but also suggesting essay plans if the predicted questions that I give during these classes come up. Let's look at grade 6. What does a grade 6 response need in terms of scores and marks? If you are aiming for a grade 6, you need to get in both of your papers 90 out of 160, which is 61% of the marks. Now, when it comes to grade 5, if you're aiming for a grade 5 in both literature paper 1 and paper 2 overall, you need to get 74 out of 160, which is 52% of the marks available for this paper. And for a grade 4, you need to get 58 out of 160, which is 43%. Okay, so you actually can get away with getting less than half of the marks available as a whole for this paper. A grade 3 response, which obviously now would be a fail for this exam, is 42 out of 160, which is 26% of the marks. And of course, grade 2 is, which is a fail, 27 out of 160, which is 17% of the marks available. And of course, grade 1 is 12 out of 160, which is 8%. And of course, guys, we are definitely trying to make sure we avoid these bottom 3 grades, right? We're trying to make sure that in 6 weeks time, when you're sitting in the exam hall in front of your literature paper 1 exam and you're turning the page over and getting ready, gearing up to do that exam, guys, we are aiming to get at least 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s, reaching our top potential. And we're going to be achieving that through my Easter GCSE Literature Week, okay? So between 7th to the 13th of April, this next month. If you are stressing, you're like, oh my God, I need to go up by 1, 2, 3 GCSE grades, we are literally going to be focusing on that, okay? In 1 week, I will show you guys how it's possible to go up by 1, 2, 3 GCSE grades before your final GCSE exams. Thanks so much for listening.